or other things, just shoot them your LinkedIn and so you can follow up with them after if they leave their information or whatnot.
Gotcha.
And what else? Let me clear that. Yeah, so people can use that chat box that you see I just cleared it out for you to ask questions.
Okay. Right. Just closed the biggest deal in company history. It's a nice time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Today?
And had one of my reps close her first deal. And we had a a lot of action at the booth earlier, so it's been a hell of a day so far. Only halfway through it. It's good.
I'm definitely not selling today. I'm just helping David out. But I sell coffee machines, a little different. But I've known David for years, so I'm just helping him out. And I used to sell security software, so drastically different how I got involved here. How did you meet David?
At the conference in person last year.
Okay, nice.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's see. I do 10 minutes for Q&A. Then I got about a minute per slide. I think that's about right. I can do that. It's funny. I thought it was like 35, 40 minutes. It's actually better to have it shorter, more efficient. Hopefully retain people's attention and get some Q&A going. But yeah, it's good.
Yeah, I know. 20 minutes does seem kind of short, but it's fitting in quite a few. Scrambling to get a conference together, which was tough after having the world shut down for him.
Yeah.
It's actually, it looks like it's been quite a few people participating so far. So it seems pretty successful.
My team loved the booth. I had 5 people at the booth, and we were all split into breakout groups, and we were busy almost the entire time. We even went like 15 minutes over the hour. So that's for an hour in a virtual booth, I think that's fantastic. I only wish that there was it was like 2 or 3 hours, not one.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good deal. Let's see.
Well, definitely send your feedback after, because I know for whatever next one, it's just getting started with this Bizabo thing.
Yeah.
And I definitely have some thoughts for after too. But in general, looks like a decent amount of people, and that's the starting point. So if we can get them back and more.
Yes. What a world these days is crazy.
So does your software essentially do the prospecting emails automated to get them locked in for demo?
Yeah, yes, but it's always calendar invitations. So we kind of just we're like the next generation. Like we kind of don't do email. Like our technology works through calendars primarily. So our outreaches to prospects are always in the form of calendar invitations. So it wouldn't be like, hey, Jeff, how's it going? Here's why Chronologic's great. It'd be like, hey, Jeff, I'm glad you joined the Tenbound. It was great to see you at Tenbound yesterday. I'd love to answer any questions you have about how Chronologic can work for your business. I have availability on 2 p.m. tomorrow, 2 p.m. Pacific tomorrow. And then if that time worked for you, you would just do a single click accept, and the meeting's booked. And I don't do anything. The effect for a rep is that you are, eating breakfast, you're eating dinner, eating lunch, and literally the calendar is booking out for you.
Nice. So like a little more like active approach versus like Calendly type thing, where they have to go and like click that link to go do it. You're like pushing the options at them.
That's it. That's it. At the exact moment we're integrated into the CRM. So it's at the exact moment that they've done something, like if they've downloaded a white paper or registered for a webinar, it's right when they've done that, it connects with them on behalf of the rep. And you would have no idea that Chronologic is involved. It just looks like, I'm very astute and I'm very on top of it. And it's great. I really think it's the next generation of. Right now, everybody fills up everybody's inboxes with lots and lots and lots of emails, or cold calls. I don't answer cold emails and I don't answer cold calls. I'm basically only interested in a conversation about something like in the moment that I'm considering it. And when I want to speak with somebody who can answer my specific questions about my business, not just, here's a white paper or here's, I want it to basically be very efficient for me to make a consideration. And I think this is the future of that. We're certainly growing like crazy, so that's good.
Nice.
Yeah. We'll see if
you use like text messages as well, or just the calendar invites.
Well, that's a great idea. That's something that we have on the roadmap.
Yeah, I mean, like now that I'm away from like traditional B2B, like enterprise SMB, like now I sold like cafes more or less, and email doesn't work the same for for like this level of people. So,
what are you talking Cafe X systems or something?
No, we're like coffee technology, but more for like not trying to replace people, just like a better machine. But yeah, the people we sell to we find that they definitely don't use email very often. They don't use calendars. Like they're more call and text is how we get a hold of them. So just always curious, like what else is out there?
Yes, we are absolutely adding an SMS feature. It's our like companies in the automotive space and the service space that have inspired us to do that. It's a great point. Cool.
Well, probably start seeing people flood in here in a minute or two. Looks like Vivian's in as well. She's on Tenbound.
Yes, I know Vivian well. Vivian was amazing this morning with like 10 minutes to go before the conference. She got 2 additional.
No worries. Like, sorry, I cut you off.
No, that was awesome. And I want you to know all 5 of the folks on my team were needed. They were all busy the entire booth time.
Wow.
5 breakout rooms going the entire time as we calculated meeting math. And we even went 15 minutes over the hour.
Wow. Yeah, we're pretty flexible with like the virtual booths running a little later, just because we've had quite a bit of people like still getting engaged or trying to squeeze in last minute questions. I know a lot of sessions were like we ran out of time for questions, so you probably will too. We're super excited to have you and your team, and thank you so much for being so responsive and being so patient throughout the whole process.
Yeah. Vivian and Aaron, looks like we're starting to have a lot of people jump into the room. So we'll let Aaron go. For everyone who's here, just a quick heads up that we are recording the session. So if you are extra cautious about being recorded, make sure that your camera or your microphone is off. With that, I'll let Aaron take it from here and introduce himself. You might want to wait a minute or two as people continue to flood in, but
sure.
Enjoy the session. Thanks.
Yeah, and then also feel free to drop questions into the chat box, and then Aaron will get to them. Thank you.
Awesome. Okay. Okay. Appreciate everybody coming. We're going to wait one more minute here and then get the official kickoff. see some folks from my team at Chronologic that have joined. Hey, Sharif, thanks for joining. Looks like a lot of folks in. Lauren, thanks for joining, Lauren. And I appreciate all of Jeff and Vivian's help getting set up. Excellent. All right, just 20 seconds more here, and we'll get in, and I will try to wrap this in less than 20 minutes, so we've got time for Q&A. I've been told that we can go about 5 minutes over for Q&A. All right, so welcome. A reminder that this session is being recorded. Everybody's muted by default, but I will unmute you when we get to the Q&A section at the end. I'd be more than happy. In fact, I appreciate as many questions as you can provide. And I would encourage you, as you think of the question, to drop it in the chat box. And then when we get to the Q&A slide, I'll just start going through top to bottom of the questions that we see in the chat box there. So welcome. The topic of my presentation today is how to give your human SDR superpowers with Virtual SDR Technology. And I think this is more relevant than ever before because it's harder to do sales development and business development and marketing development than it has ever been before. So the agenda here is where we'll talk about how the struggle is real and then dive into the superpowers. What superpowers can your team have? What can you deliver with what's available today? And then I'll talk about some specific examples from companies and get into some of the specific data on what's working from this technology and how, to maybe give you some ideas for exactly how you can apply this to your business. And then we'll have time for audience questions. So from the top here, I appreciate everybody joining, and I just want to start by empathizing with you. We're at a very special time in the history of the world and certainly the history of sales development in the modern era. This is myself and some of the folks on my team in February, and this is us now trying to prospect on the right side of your screen here in March. Same team, same company, but now we've got to try to connect over little squares in the computer. It's real, and it's harder than ever. And I can tell you that I saw our pipeline really start to plummet in March and the first half of April. I'm happy to say that we've had a lot of rebound since then, but it's never been harder as a manager, even as a top performer, to map out everything that you're going to do and you need to do to hit your numbers and figure out how to fill the top of the funnel and how to create the pipeline you need to get there with all of the in-person channels gone. So I empathize with everybody on the call today. The other reason it's harder is because, I'm going to give you some new language here, it's because the last mile problem is growing bigger than ever. And the last mile problem is literally, it's represented by the gap on the screen here. The last mile problem is all of the leads that you work hard and spend money on in marketing that never convert to actual sales appointments. And so that happens across every lead channel, from demo request and contact us. You would think that demo request and contact us, it's somebody saying, hey, I want a demo. You would think almost all of those convert, but many of you know that they oftentimes don't. I mean, the best numbers I've heard is somewhere in the high 80% range. And I often hear and see work with clients that have demo requests that only convert in the 50% range to sales appointments. Then you look down from the hot leads and you look down on the more of the warm leads, like content downloads, webinar registrations, virtual event sessions, and on down into like ABM leads. And so marketing is going after companies and prospects earlier in the sales cycle, earlier in the consideration cycle than ever before. And many of those leads never convert to sales meetings. And we have less information on them, and yet sales development teams are given these numbers like, well, we have 500 webinar registrations this month. We have 78 accounts that have overcome a point threshold in the ABM system. We have 240 content downloads. But those big numbers don't mean anything if they don't translate to appointments, sales appointments for your sales team. So I want to point that out. That's what we call the last mile problem. And it's really that gap between marketing and sales. And if you've been in a QBR where there's tension between marketing and sales, a lot of times the last mile and that drop off between leads created and the actual sales meetings is the reason for tension in your QBRs. So the struggle is real. It's harder than it's ever been. The last mile problem is growing. What can you do about it to solve those problems and empower your teams to actually perform better than ever? Well, I would like to present 3 superpowers that today's virtual SDR technology can provide. The first of those is omniscience. To know everything that's relevant in the right place in the right time. And that is really, really hard to do on a human level. So what am I talking about here? Well, if you're trying to go after hundreds and hundreds, maybe thousands of leads every month, your chances are greatly improved if you can map relevant messaging to the lead source. Where are these coming from? What do they know about us already, and what do they probably not know about us? How do they perceive us based on the lead source? Who should handle the leads based on routing rules, expertise by vertical, expertise by topic or product solution, and even real-time capacity. So I think about just a couple examples here, like lean data, right? To know at scale who should handle every lead based on a giant algorithm of who's most appropriate for any given lead is the kind of thing that lean data and other providers can build into your CRM so that your sales reps have that information available in real time. And when you look at real-time capacity, that's an area where Chronologic provides a lot of value. Who can connect with this person before they lose interest or before they speak with our competitor? It's really hard to do that. And if you're relying on humans to do that today, you're almost certainly losing some of those leads, more leads than you need to. And then finally, any relevant connection or context that, who do you know in common? What have they downloaded in history? And some of that's captured in the CRM, but presenting that to your SDRs and BDRs at the right moment, quickly and efficiently in their inbox, for example, is something that IntroHive does. They will look across your CRM, gather all the relevant information, and put it in an email just like a sales manager would, and get that in your inbox like an hour before the meeting. So that, as you have time that day, you can upload that into your mental RAM before you go into that meeting. Something that's really, really hard to do, and you can only do about half as many if you're doing it all manually. Okay, omniscience. Second superpower, omnipresence. Can you be everywhere in 60 seconds? And this is more important than ever because our prospects' attention spans have gotten shorter and shorter. There's a number of different studies here, but one of the most recent studies has shown that if you shrink your response time from 30 minutes, which I think most people feel is good. Like if a lead comes in and you're on it in 30 minutes, that seems pretty good in most companies. But if you can shrink that from 30 minutes down to under 5 minutes, you will see on average a 27 times increase in the ability to land that meeting. Not a 27%, a 27 times. So that would be 2,700% equivalent. The point is, it's not enough to get back to leads anymore, and within 30 minutes, you want to get it down to 5 minutes. And it's not just enough to connect with leads from demo requests really quickly, right? This person's coming in saying, I want a demo. That's pretty table stakes to know that you need to respond very quickly. But it's increasingly become true for even things like gated content downloads. It's also true for product qualified leads. If you're familiar with PQLs, that means a user has a series of actions within your product that your software can monitor and say, okay, this person is clearly, bumping up against limitations of their current plan. If it takes you days to get a conversation with that person, they may have already given up on your product and gone to a competitor, or they may have already created an emotional frustration that you'll never get them over in the future, and you'll lose them potentially forever. And so connecting with people, having the ability to connect with everybody at the right time, just when they want to speak with you, is really powerful. And virtual SDR technology can do that. And I'll give you some examples. And ABM, the popularity of ABMs make this more relevant than ever as well. Okay, omniscience and omnipresence. And then the third superpower is the ability to be always on. So originally I taught this, the ability to never need to eat and sleep again. And this is the idea that you have, right now, your SDR teams, the human SDR teams, they're great. They may be great, and they may be really great, especially during business hours. But they're people. They take lunches. They go on vacation. Sometimes they start their day late. They can only hold one meeting at a time. And we take these things for granted. Well, of course that's true. Sure. But if there's an opportunity or an interaction with the lead that takes place during another meeting or lunch, and that lunch or that meeting takes an hour to complete, and a number of things pile up, and it's now an hour before they hear back from us, maybe we don't lose the client, but we might lose several days or even a week within the sales cycle. And so virtual SDR technology allows SDRs to literally be booking meetings while they're in another meeting, having their calendar booked out for them literally while they sleep. It happens to me every day with Chronologic, and it's a fantastic thing. It makes you feel like you are more than one person, like you've got superpowers. Okay, so those are the three superpowers. So what does this look like in a business? How is it actually affecting business and improving results? So first example I want to give is from one of our clients in the financial services space, financial services and software. They used our virtual SDR technology to follow up on their webinars. In the past, they would hover between 5 and 10%. They'd never broken that double-digit barrier on webinar leads converting to sales appointments. So you may have 100 people sign up for a webinar, but I would encourage you to run the numbers on how many sales appointments you actually get out of that webinar. For most companies, it's going to be 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 in that range. So our client used our virtual SDR technology, which did a follow-up right after the webinar with everybody who registered, and they saw a 17% acceptance rate. Now that is 17 nominally doesn't sound like a big number, but when you've invested a lot of time and when your normal conversion rate is 5%, that's actually 340% increase in the results. And for this webinar, they booked more than 50 sales meetings and generated almost, over $800,000 in bookings from a single webinar. And in the past, that number was in the 200K range. And this is something where, yes, can human SDRs follow up on webinar leads? Of course. But can they follow up on 300 in an hour? Typically, no, not with good quality, and they can't, schedule and reschedule and go back and forth at that scale. And they also have a lot of other things that they're responsible for doing in a given day. Second example, this is for one of our clients who recently went public with the results. They saw a 12,000% ROI on their use of Chronologic, which is a really big number, but I've seen all the data and it's a legitimate number. And it came from what feels like maybe a modest increase in the results. So their demo requests had averaged right around 48% from somebody saying, I'm interested in a demo, to actually having a sales appointment and joining that sales appointment with the sales executive. With Chronologic's virtual SDR technology, whether it was day or night or weekend or holiday, if they submitted a demo request, they would hear directly from a rep at Bright Talk using virtual SDR technology, but it looks just like the rep. It comes from their email, their real email, and it has a time proposed, and it gets that time to them with a single-click meeting acceptance within 60 seconds. And that raised their demo request to actual sales meeting happen rate to 78%. just that 30% increase contributed over $500,000 in the first 2 months of using this technology. Final example here, and then I'll open it up for Q&A. So final example is around account expansion. And I think this is one that I've personally in my career felt a lot of pain around, because I've been involved with multiple new product rollouts. And the company, the executives, set a QBR, and the sales, the client success, and some of the marketing team and some of the product marketers, we'll all come together. We'll have some big kickoff, and as part of the quarterly event, we'll say, hey, all right, guys, we've got a great new product that does this function. We're going to have the product marketing manager come up and tell us about it. And that person will get up in front of the crowd and they'll say, hey, look, this is great. And they'll try to be witty and try to be creative, and maybe put some music on. And they're trying to get all these reps to pay attention to this new product, because they already have a bunch of products they sell. They already have issues with their accounts. They all have a lot of things that they're trying to do. And this product team is trying to get their attention, to get them to, we want you to focus your conversations. Make sure to mention to your accounts that we have this new product, right? That, I think many of us know that approach takes it can take years for a new product to really have wide adoption among your existing client portfolio. And virtual SDR technology, and a lot of times SDRs get assigned with that too, which is, here's 1,000 accounts that are high propensity for, buying a specific new product that we have, maybe through an acquisition, maybe it's a product we build ourselves. But with virtual SDR technology, management can literally determine a list of, here's those 500 accounts, or here's those 1,000 accounts, upload them into Chronologic, and those messages go out to the accounts, the right people at the right accounts, on behalf of the right team at the company, to tee up some of those initial qualification calls. And instead of it happening, a few a day over the course of many months, it can happen, dozens and dozens per day over the course of a few weeks. And you can speak to, in this case, these guys spoke to over 500 of their existing accounts in the first month of using a virtual SDR technology. In the past, that may have taken 6 months or longer to get those meetings set. So the product still has to be good enough to sell itself. But the ability to connect with your customers and use your human resources to have those human conversations, not just be chasing leads all day, trying to get them in the calendar, scheduling and rescheduling them. Okay, so we got some time for Q&A here. Let's see. I'm going to start from the top. Thank you, Jackson. I appreciate it. And then I've got a question from Heather O'Daniel. So I mentioned 3 tools. I mentioned Lean Data to be able to just give you routing at scale and do it with increasingly complex algorithms. Intro Hive is a technology I mentioned that can basically look across your CRM and assemble down to an email worth of like a meeting pregame and get that into the inbox of your reps, like right before the meeting. Because if you send it 2 weeks ahead, they probably won't get it. They may not remember it by the time you get it. So it's really about kind of just in time information, but doing the research for you. And then finally, I talked a lot about Chronologic. I'm a co-founder of Chronologic, so I'm biased, but Chronologic is the world's first calendar monetization engine and active scheduling platform that literally books out your reps and SDRs calendars for them and fills them with valuable meetings with absolutely no effort on their own, which gives you the ability to do more meetings in any given day. Okay, any other questions in the Q&A? If you guys have any questions, please add them to the chat room. See, we've got a lot of folks in the event, and no question is a bad question. Happy to answer anything. Let me know. Let's see. I'll also add that if you are thinking about how to quantify what the business impact of some of this technology can be, I've developed a format called the Chronologic meeting math framework, and it helps you calculate two metrics: average value per meeting and your last mile problem, literally the dollar size of your last mile problem. And we have our virtual booth. If you stop by our virtual booth, we will help you. We have a team there. We will help you calculate what your average value per meeting is and last mile problem. You can also stop by chronologic.ai, Chronologic with a K, and we'd be happy to help you figure out what that is. And it literally tells you, okay, if we could convert a higher percentage of the leads to meetings, that would be worth X dollars in bookings for the company. So it gives you a framework for that. All right, and I am not seeing any additional. I've seen some nice compliments. I appreciate that, but no great questions now. So I really appreciate everybody's interest. And if you want to ask me any questions off the record, I'm Aaron, Aaron, at chronologic.ai, Kronologic.ai. Thank you, Sharif. He's added chronologic.ai/how it works into the chat, into the chat room. And thanks, Ben. All right, thanks, guys. Appreciate it. And thanks for coming to the Tenbound Sales Development Conference.